I feel like parents come into feeding therapy not really knowing or understanding what it's supposed to look like. How do you know anything before you try it? You probably didn't know what parenting was really going to be like until you were a parent, right? A lot of parents, they go into therapy thinking that the therapist is the expert and they absolutely are going to know everything about how to fix this particular problem with your child. And a lot of times, actually, that's just not true. Not every therapist knows everything about every topic. That's why it's good to find somebody who specializes in feeding specifically, because, and I've said, there's no like standard training. So feeding therapy doesn't have its own degree. They tend to be speech pathologists. They tend to be occupational therapists. However, there are ABA therapists doing feeding therapy, which is a topic for another day, but I never agree that an ABA therapist should be doing anything relating to feeding. I feel like it's like one day perhaps that will be considered malpractice or something, but it is not currently. But anyways, it's not every therapist who's a speech therapist or an occupational therapist is versed in feeding, enjoys feeding, knows anything about feeding. In school, typically the class on feeding is actually called dysphagia. And the dysphagia class is actually about difficulty swallowing, which is different from our severe picky eaters. None of those skills really transfer at all. So that essentially means most therapists come out of their grad school with zero experience in how to treat kids who are very fearful and selective about their eating. They don't know why it's happening. So they're only going to be able to use the tools in their toolbox that they have.